That one went long.
Yeah, probably about 25 minutes. Let's start recording.
Let's go. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the First Things First podcast. The reason we do this is because we believe that if you keep the first things first, you often receive second things. But if you replace those, or if you replace the first things with secondary things, you have a tendency to lose everything. So we have a fun discussion. This is kind of a big deal here at Rock One, at the real estate agency that we kind of belong to and that you get to lead. We're going to talk about discipline over motivation. Now, I think before we do that, can you give us a running definition of what is the difference between discipline and what is the difference between motivation?
Yes, sure. So motivation is a feeling. If you think about that, motivation is based upon how you feel about doing something. Discipline doesn't give a crap about how you feel about doing something. So discipline is a decision. Discipline's a decision. Motivation is a feeling.
Okay, so which one is going to take you further in life?
Discipline, of course. Obviously, if we're relying on our feelings all the time, like probably not a whole lot's going to get done.
Well, okay, you know what that makes me think of? Well, and we talk about this, 60% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Right.
I don't know the real number on this, but like I think about New Year's resolutions, right? How many people do we know like at New Year, they're like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit this sales goal. I'm going to lose this much weight. And usually it's by like 2 weeks, they already drop off, you know?
Yeah, so I can actually give you some real statistics on that.
The
real statistics that are made up 60% of the time on the spot or whatever it is that you say. Well, I can tell you this, about half within the first month. And by the end of the cycle, so like if you go a full year, it's about 4 to 8%.
That actually keep it and maintain it?
Keep it, maintain it, and go all the way out. You have about 4 to 8% of the people that make a New Year's resolution.
That is terrible. Like those numbers are not great. So you're saying, okay, based on this, in our podcast, kind of the direction that we're going is disciplined people go further than people that rely on motivation.
100%. Because motivation is fleeting, right? I mean, just think about that for a minute. So, and I'm going to go back a little bit on the New Year's resolution thing. I think a lot of people start with good intentions. Like their intentions are that they would love to, lose 20 pounds or, in real estate, have more sales, something like that, whatever the new goal is. And I don't think they start with bad intention. I think they start with good intention. The problem is they start with good intention and they're super motivated right now because we're going to flip the page from December 31st to January 1st. It's like everything's new.
Because
it's all in front of you because the number changed. And then it's like by the second week, the motivation starts fading away and there's no system in place to help keep you disciplined, to help you push through, to help you accomplish whatever it was that you set for yourself to begin with.
Yeah, I think the hardest part is people don't figure in obstacles and they don't figure in like effort, like how hard it's going to be. So I think about this, like, okay, when people think about marriage, like we're talking about like newlywed people, right? What are they thinking about? They're thinking about the wedding, they're thinking about the honeymoon, and they think the honeymoon doesn't stop. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't figure in the health problems that could come along the way, or what it's like carrying a baby when they carry a pregnancy. They don't factor in maybe complications, or let's say you're trying to lose the weight. You don't factor in that you have 37 birthday parties and there's going to be cake at them in the next 3 months. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we don't factor in, if it's based on feelings, our motivation is going to wane because we don't factor in obstacles, But okay, so if we're going to be disciplined, if we're not going to rely on a feeling or emotion, which we just said is fleeting, then how do we establish discipline? Because you said this, they don't have the right systems in place, and I think that's a key phrase that we need to focus on. Right.
So have you ever heard the saying that you don't rise to the level of your goal, you fall to whatever systems you have in place?
Yeah, it's really good.
So take that a step further. You don't rise to the goals that you've set. You don't rise to your goals, but you fall to the lowest system of the highest training that you have.
Okay.
So let's even take that
moment, but it's low. It's a low high moment.
Yes. So depending on where that's at, that's what you're always going to fall to. So if you have super good systems, or you have a high level of really good training in something, and you can maintain your discipline through that. It doesn't matter about the motivation. Now we're talking about a system, a structure to fit yourself into. If you have really good systems, that's what you're going to fall to when motivation starts to wane.
Yeah.
Okay. And the key to that is now It doesn't matter how you feel. We talked about identity in our last podcast. Your identity now says, hey, I'm the type of person that is going to do what I said I'm going to do. And like in real estate, for example, I'll spend a lot of time with new agents talking about time blocking. Heck, I spend a lot of time with our more experienced agents talking about time blocking. I sit and talk about time blocking with myself. So it's like you have to have things set out daily. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's a very structured daily schedule throughout the entire week, Monday through Sunday. Here's what it is. I start with my non-negotiables. What are my non-negotiables? Whatever that looks like. Then we build around that. Then when it comes to 10 o'clock on Tuesday, and in real estate, you have to prospect. So you have to make phone calls. You have to follow up through email, through text, whatever it is that you're going to do to consider it for yourself prospecting. You have to prospect or you're not going to have any clients at some point. So you have to prospect. Well, prospecting, making phone calls seems to be the number one thing that most agents don't like to do. They don't like to nurture clients. They don't like to make those calls and do that kind of thing, right? So if 10 o'clock on Tuesday rolls around, you have an hour set up to do that. Well, I just don't feel like it today. I didn't sleep well last night. My kids kept me up all night. My kids got a soccer game in the next couple hours, but I've got that hour set aside. Okay. If you rely on the motivation to do that, you're never going to do it.
Yeah, you're just going to sit there.
But if you look at that the day before and you say, okay, tomorrow at 10 o'clock, for that 1 hour, I'm doing prospecting. You've already set yourself up for it. You've already wrote it down. Your identity says, I'm a person that does exactly what I say I'm going to do. And you do it, not because you feel like doing it, because you said you were going to do it. It's in your system. Your system says you're going to do it. That's just one of the things you have to accomplish for the day. And you do it. That kind of stuff is what starts leading to the next thing in your system. You build upon those things. Your identity starts to change, because now you are a person that does what you say you're going to do. You're making phone calls, which means you're going to end up having clients, which means you're going to end up being successful down the road. You know, all those things start falling into place, but it has nothing to do with how you feel in that moment. It has to do with what systems you have in place that you're going to follow through with exactly what you said you're going to do.
Yeah, if you're unsure what we mean by systems, what that means is practices.
Yeah.
Right? And something that you need to understand is you have systems in place. They're either created or they're allowed. Right. So that you've either been intentional in putting these things in place, or you've just kind of nonchalant gone through whatever it is that you're doing. And that's a system that you've created and it's habitual. So here's something really easy that a lot of people don't think about. Do you know why your body creates habits?
I think so.
What do you think?
It's the neural pathways, the path of least resistance, the stuff that's easy.
So in creating habits, you create neural pathways. But the reason that your body creates habits is to conserve energy. Okay. Right? So the things that you habitually do cost you less energy. So when it comes to changing your habits or changing your systems, that's creating the new neural pathways, which we talked about, neuroplasticity and all of those other things. That costs you more energy. If you want to have the right systems, then they need to become your habits. The right systems need to become the right habits. And when they're the right habits, they actually cost you less energy. They're hard at first, but what's not hard at first?
Right. No, that's good. Let's go back to neuroplasticity for a minute.
Let's do that.
So just so you know, every time that you have a decision to make, your brain holds a committee meeting. Every time there's a decision, it's a committee meeting in your brain. And you may not ever think cognitively on it. You may not ever recognize what's going on because it may happen in a split second inside your brain. But you have a decision to make you have a committee meeting in your brain on every decision it is that you have to make. So a system, going back to a plan or a strategic thing that you have laid out for yourself to do, a plan or a system to combat that is make as many decisions on paper for a week as you can and know them ahead of time. There's no decision to make now. So there's now no committee meeting in your brain, which decision fatigue is what that's called. Yeah. When you start having all these decisions, am I going to make my calls? Am I not? Am I going to go? I got to go to my kid's soccer game. I got to run by the store after work. I've got, we got all these decisions and they're just pounding at you all the time. You have decision fatigue, which does what? Kills motivation.
And takes energy.
Exactly. So the more decisions you can lay out and have those planned out ahead of time. I mean, Craig Rochelle says this stuff the best. He has everything laid out, and I know you and I have had many conversations. I know you're the same way. I'm the same way to a degree. I know exactly the night before what I have for the next day. So it's not catching me off guard. I'm not having to make a decision about it. I know when I'm going to work out. I know when I'm going to go to bed. I know what I'm going to eat throughout the day. I'm going to have my stuff scheduled. If I've got a luncheon scheduled for noon with a client and it's at a restaurant that I'm going to have a hard time finding something I can eat at, I already start telling myself the night before, here's what I'm going to get. Here's what I'm going to eat. So there's no decision in the moment that's consuming energy, that's causing decision fatigue that I have to make. That in itself is a system that you have in place.
Yeah, it's called the art of pre-planning. So essentially, like if you're not a pre-planner, this is something I would tell you to start like yesterday. You know what I mean? But it's essentially like what Brazz said. Like when for me, it's when I go to bed at night, my gym clothes are set out in the same spot. Like this is super. You don't got to be as religious or superstitious as this, but I put my workout clothes in the same spot. If I'm gonna run, I put my those shoes with those. So I determine the next day if I'm running and then lifting and put the shoes with that. In my gym bag is the clothes that I'm going to wear to work. I don't make that decision in the morning. I make it the night before, and then I have my meals planned out from 6 a.m. all the way through 2 p.m. Because when I get home, then we eat with the family, and it's whatever my wife put on our meal spreadsheet. So, but the goal is that I'm going to save as much energy as I can for the hard stuff. Because think about the unexpected stuff that comes at work, the hard decisions that you got to make. You know what I mean? I want to be able to exercise those things with clarity, but to put in that practice of pre-planning, like what you're talking about, is a discipline. It is something I do like even on the weekends, bro. Like Saturday, I know I'm getting donuts with the dudes, but because it's a habit, I go put my gym clothes right there, and then my pre-workout's already made, and then I'm eating a rice cake because I got to have something with some kind of substance because donuts don't have it. You know what I'm saying?
Can I throw a little side note?
Oh yeah, throw it in there.
So one of the things I've learned through going through this cut and trying to be disciplined and becoming better with nutrition and things like that is, okay, if you're going to have a donut, not 10 donuts, which I can do easily. Yeah. I could have a dozen donuts if you lay them out in front of me. But if you're going to have a donut, start 30 minutes before with a protein shake.
Yeah.
Throw down 30, 40 grams of protein before you go do it. And it'll make one seem like enough. Or try Twisted Dough. I mean, there's a little plug for Twisted Dough, but Twisted Dough's great.
Feel
by
free
the
to
way.
sponsor us.
Yeah, it's great. But anyway, it goes all back to that pre-planning, which is a system, and just something to touch on a little bit, because I'm sure we're going to probably get back to this. But if there's one thing I would say, pre-planning is great, like the pre-planning stuff. But I think it goes hand in hand with time blocking. Yeah. So and I think this works no matter what field you're in. Like if you pre-plan a week out and you start with non-negotiables, and I'll just kind of, people ask me all the time, well, what's a non-negotiable? Because usually what I see happen with newer agents when we're sitting down and going that, or newer people who haven't time blocked, is they feel like everything's a non-negotiable. You start having a ton of non-negotiables in there. Oh yeah. Okay. Well, you really, if you start peeling back the layers of that, you'll see that everything is not a non-negotiable. For me, non-negotiables, 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sunday, that's church. I'm either on sound, I'm running worship, I'm doing whatever. You have the same type deal for Sunday. It is what it is. Wednesdays from 4:30 to 8:30, church, non-negotiable. I have one-on-one time set aside for my agents here on Mondays and Tuesdays from 11 to 2. That they can have that. Now, if none of that gets filled in, that's a flex space for me. I can use that for study. I can use that for follow-up. I can use that however I need to. But if I have a one-on-one scheduled and I have $1 million client call me and want to go see a house, I'm sticking to my one-on-one because I've told them I would. And that to me is a non-negotiable. So when I get that client that calls me, and this is how I explain it to our agents, well, what do you do when all these things start happening? Is you simply say you have an appointment. That's not a lie. You have an appointment at 1 o'clock. Now, my appointment is a one-on-one coffee to sit and talk through your business. It's not that I'm showing another client, but to me, that's valuable. And to me, that is a non-negotiable for our agents because I said I was going to do those things. So if I put it down and I know that that's what I'm going to do, there's no guesswork in that. I get a phone call and I already know it's a no. Yeah. I have no issue saying no to that. And I think what we see with a lot of new agents is they say yes to everything, not realizing they're saying no. And we've had great conversations on that.
That's a whole nother podcast in itself.
Yes. But when you block that off in a Monday through Sunday type calendar, and here's what I'm going to do in these times, and you start living to that, That is discipline. It takes discipline to do it. Has nothing to do with motivation, and it starts changing your identity in whatever it is that you're doing.
And another discipline to throw on top of that is communicate it early. Like if you're taking on a new client, and like we had a big time client, and I was like, hey, I can only show houses on these days in between this time. And I let them know at the front end because I work for a church, because my kids have soccer games like that. For me, date nights are non-negotiable. So if you ask me to do something during date night, my wife's way prettier than you. So she gets the green light. And then my kids got soccer games. I want to be going back to the identities. I don't want to be famous on a platform. I want to be famous at home. So I make decisions. I can't try to maintain disciplines that push towards that goal that I have set in front of me. So I want to ask this question.
It's good.
How much would you say mindset plays into discipline, choosing discipline over motivation?
Man, that's a good question, because I think mindset plays into identity, plays into who you are as a person, plays into discipline, plays into your motivation, like all the things that we're talking about. I think mindset, though, is more closely related sometimes to motivation at the start.
Yeah.
But I think as you live more disciplined, that now becomes your mindset, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because if you've never done those kind of things before and you're just kind of jumping into doing these things, if you will just start doing one thing, 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. I'm not going to do anything else, but I'm going to commit to 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon to make phone calls. If that, or whatever thing it is that you don't want to do, that you're not always going to be motivated to do, going to the gym, like whatever you want to use as your example there, commit to that one thing and do it. No matter how you feel, no matter what's gone on the night before, no matter what you have planned out for the rest of the day, commit to that one thing that you wrote down. That starts shifting your mindset.
That's good. That's good. I think a phrase that I hear people often start with is like, hey, I'm trying to do this, like whatever it is, like I'm trying to eat, I'm trying to go to the gym. If I could be blunt for a little bit, I think I'm trying is wishful thinking. Yeah. It's like, hey, I'm going to do it until I don't feel like doing it anymore, which may be tomorrow. You know what I mean? I think scripture uses a different language. I think Paul talks about it. I believe it's 1 Corinthians, where he's like, hey, don't you know that everybody runs to win the prize? So run as if to win the prize. And I think he talks about like discipline your body through training. So there's the word disciplined, which means I'm going to keep doing the thing that's hard. And how do I do it? Through training, through consistency. So the question I've heard a pastor say this is like, hey, when it comes to the things that God's called you to, whether it's as a husband, as a father, as an employee, as a leader, as a church leader, all of those different things, are you trying or are you training?
That's good.
You know what I mean? Like if I'm training, it's daily showing up to do the hard things. It's daily learning. It's daily receiving feedback. It's surrounding myself with people that are ahead of me and asking questions and not being ashamed to do so. Like I think there's a large amount of humility that comes into training, but trying is like, hey, it's what I think Craig Roche says it this way, that trying is trying to accomplish a goal with minimal effort.
It's good.
I was like, man, that sounds terrible.
but that's so truthful. I'll leave you with this scripture too. 2 Timothy 1:7 says, for God hasn't given us a spirit of timidity, but of what? Of power, love, and discipline. Discipline. Mm. So we already have that. So especially for you guys who are believers, God's given us that. He hasn't given us a spirit of being timid and a spirit of fear and all of those things. It has to do with power and it has to do with discipline. And we've already got that. I think what happens a lot of times, though, is we're afraid to access it. Yeah. Or we don't know how to access it. We don't know which direction to go. And I promise you, putting your life out on paper will help a lot. Just writing out all the stuff that you have to do. And you'll start realizing, I've seen this more often than not, even with myself, I have way more time throughout the day than I feel like I have. Yeah. But if I rely on me being motivated through that, or me just kind of trying to hit life as it comes at me, it's like I got baseballs coming at my head all day and I'm just swatting them away the fast as I can. this will give you way more clarity. And I should say this too. We haven't ever really said anything like this, but man, we're going to ask you to like, comment, share our podcast. But if you specifically are listening to this today and you're like, man, I would like to know more about that, or I would like to know more about what time blocking looks like, or hey, here's my life and here's how crazy it is, help me figure it out. Like, either one of us would be more than happy to sit down with you guys and do that. Just drop us a comment, let us know.
Yeah, send us a message. We want to help you develop a discipline. So let's do this. I want you to, we're both going to share like a practical way that maybe we've been disciplined in an area that maybe we've struggled in the past.
Yeah.
So for you, what is an area that you struggled, and what is a discipline that you put in place to overcome that?
Gosh, man, there's several. So I guess I'll just use this one because it's the easiest one for me to use. Mm-hmm. December 29th, I started a cut. Okay. I specifically started it on the 29th so I wouldn't fall into that category of the January 1st people. I had to make some changes.
Okay.
I was about 30 pounds heavier than I am now. I thought I was in decent shape, but I really wasn't. Kind of went and had the whole body scan done, had all those things done. But I had to completely change the way I look at food, completely change the way I looked at working out. And of course, I'm 53 years old. So things are a lot different for me than they were when I was 33 years old.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that, and I had to put together a plan and commit to that plan. And it started with literally, I started with ChatGPT. And I went through and I said, here are my goals. Here's what time I wake up. Here's when I can do this. Here's when I can't do that. I put my entire time block schedule in there for it and had ChatGPT help me create a nutrition plan, a workout schedule around everything else. And I've been committed to it since December 29th. Now, have I had a donut here and there? I have.
But you factor it in, right?
I've factored them in every single time. And so that has been a huge change for me. But I'll tell you this, and I think I've used this analogy before. It's like I was walking around with boulders on my shoulder, and the freedom in doing things how I do them now has been astronomical. It's like I walk around not just physically lighter, but mentally lighter because of the practices that I've been able to put in place.
So hold on, you're telling me that adding discipline to your life actually made you lighter and gave you more freedom?
100%.
So structure instead of just the ability to be willy-nilly. Can I say willy-nilly? Willy-nilly.
That's good.
Actually, yeah, so it makes you think about that. You haven't been given a spirit of fear, but one of power, love, and discipline. Other translations say a sound mind. So I actually can have great thinking, clarity of thinking, if I put discipline in my life. For me, so I've read the Bible several times, but I've never done the Bible in a year. And if you know me, I don't like to read. So I started learning and teaching myself to read when I heard somebody say leaders are readers and leaders are learners. Right. So for me, last year was my first year to do the Bible. I'll go all the way through the Bible in a year, never fell a day behind. And here was my discipline is I read it when I'm on the treadmill. So what I did is I actually inserted it into something that I was already doing. So I had an iPad mini with me at the time. I have a regular iPad now, but I took my iPad mini with me everywhere. Well, before I work out, I walked until I finished reading my Bible. Then I went and lifted, and then I would end with my normal cardio. That was my traditional structure anyways. I was going to walk for 10 minutes, let my body warm up, and then go and walk again for 20 minutes after the workout. So all I did was say, man, I can distract myself from the treadmill because the treadmill is exhausting. You're literally walking and going nowhere.
Right.
Literally going nowhere. But I brought my Bible with me to something I was already doing. So it actually didn't take any extra time of my life. It was fitted into a time spot. And on Sunday mornings, that's the one day that I don't go to the gym. It's the very first thing I do as soon as I get to the church. I get to the church, I read my Bible, and then after that I go start high-fiving people and saying hi to everybody and all that other stuff. I think as believers we're called to be disciplined people and to be disciplined so that we could walk out the things that God has called us to do, because without those discipline, man, many of us and I'm gonna be honest for a little bit. I think because we're not disciplined, many of us don't walk out the faith that we're called to walk out. But if we would add discipline to our life, maybe we would know Scripture better. And maybe our walk would be straighter.
It's good.
And maybe we would experience kind of that freedom that you were talking about. So, okay, if you could give one piece of advice before we close out, what would you say?
Time block.
Time block. Here's this
time block. 100. Yeah, I'm just saying that time blocking and planning in advance. Like those two things, and I think they go hand in hand. But that's where the freedom starts coming in because and I know we could have a whole other podcast on it, but you can start saying no easier to things that you might think now you have to say yes to all the time. And when you start saying yes to everything all the time, you're saying no to a bunch of other stuff. You just don't realize it, and it's costing you time, effort, and energy
and freedom. There goes your freedom. If I could give you one piece of advice, I would say this: choose one thing for this year and be disciplined in that one thing. Make it a habit, because whatever goal that it is that you have, it's going to require discipline and time to get there. Life change doesn't happen by one major decision. It is made by a million small decisions made consistently. There's the discipline over time.
It's good.
Well, that's all we got for today for episode 4 of the First Things First podcast. Man, again, Brazz mentioned this earlier. If this blessed you, there's ways that it would help us. Man, we'd love for you to like it and share it. But if it blessed you, we just ask you that you would share it with somebody else, because it may be a blessing to them as well. The reason we do this podcast is because we believe that if you keep the first things first in every aspect of life, faith, leadership, all that other stuff, then you often receive second things. But when you put secondary things in the place of first place things, you have a tendency to lose everything. Well, that's it for this week. We'll see you next time.